Da 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 da. Welcome to Disenfranchised. I'm Karen Bulinski Mathison of The Naked Grief, identifying disenfranchised grief one episode at a time through the lens of friends. Today we're breaking down season 1, episode 8, the one where Nana dies twice. This one's different because it's not only disenfranchised grief. This episode contains real death, but it also contains something a lot of grievers recognize and don't always feel safe saying out loud: signs, meaning making, the weird little moments that feel like the person is still here, like Nana's sweet and lows falling on Ross in the closet. And it ends with the gang looking at a picture of Nana and her friends at Java Joe's, a gang that looks a whole lot like the friends we're watching right now. So this episode's about death grief and the chaos of almost, and now it's real. The grief of family dynamics at funerals, judgment, criticism, and old roles, and the grief of being misread. Chandler learning that some people assume he's one way, and how identifying identity confusion can hit like loss. So Monica gets a call from her dad at the beginning of the episode that Nana's in her last stages of life. So Monica and Ross rush to the hospital and wait with their parents and their aunt. And this is where the episode nails something that's almost impossible to explain unless you've lived it. The waiting, the anticipatory grief, the inevitable. The way everyone starts reminiscing because it's easier than sitting in the rawness. They talk about Nana's habits, like stealing sweet and low packets from everywhere. And then the nurse comes over, and Monica and Ross go in to say goodbye. Ross leans in to kiss Nana, and Nana moves. She's not dead. Panic, confusion. Monica runs for the nurse. Ross is trying to explain to the family what just happens. And then the flat line beeps. And this time, Nana is truly gone. That's why the episode is called Nana Dies Twice. It's not just a joke, it's emotional whiplash. So a lot of grievers carry a very specific kind of guilt around loss. Did I say goodbye the right way? Did I miss my chance to say goodbye? Why did I feel relief and horror at the same time? And when death is drawn out or confusing, your nervous system doesn't get a clean ending. It gets a glitch. If you've lived this kind of almost moment, here's your permission. You don't have to make your reaction make sense. Your brain was trying to protect you from impact. If you felt numb, panicked, relieved, angry, or weirdly calm, none of that makes you a bad person. It makes you human. So after Nana dies, Monica and Ross are pulled into the logistics. Monica picks out the coffin with her dad. Ross helps Judy, their mom, and their mom's sister Lillian pick out a dress, even though it's a closed casket funeral, because they want Nana to look nice where she's going. But they have to have matching shoes. So Ross is in the back of the closet trying to help them match up outfits and find the right shoes. And he reaches for a shoebox and gets showered with sweet and low packets. It's funny. Yeah. But it's also a moment a lot of grievers would call a sign, like Nana's signature habit showing up one more time. Like a little I'm still here in the middle of the worst day. Some people call it coincidence. Some call it comfort. Some people call it God. And some people call it the brain searching for patterns. But here's what matters. Meaning making is a survival skill. And when the world stops making sense, your mind and heart look for something to hold on to. If you get a sign after a loss, and you don't have to prove it, you don't have to argue it, you can simply say, I'm going to let this be comforting. And if you don't get signs, you're not doing grief wrong. You're not less connected, and you're not grieving differently. At the funeral, grief is everywhere, and so are the family dynamics. Judy, their mom, is criticizing Monica. Oh, I think it's time for you to start using night cream. She's pulling Monica's hair over Monica's ears because she thinks that her ears are too big. The little cuts that show up at the worst possible time. This is a grief layer that people don't talk enough about. When someone dies, the family doesn't just suddenly become healthier. A lot of times it breaks them apart. Monica's mom, Judy, is grieving, and the way she's grieving is to try and control something. So she looks to Monica to try and control Monica's behaviors, Monica's attire, Monica's physical being. Commenting on earrings, commenting on hairstyles. Old roles get louder, old wounds get touched. And then Ross falls into an open grave. It's played for laughs, but it's also symbolic. Ross literally falls into a hole in the cemetery. And that can represent the death of so many things at once. The death of Nana, the death of innocence, the death of normal, the death of the version of life where everything was still intact. The recognition that Ross needs to bury a lot of the things that we have already seen him lose, that he's still holding on to. Ross gets painkillers from Judy and becomes a little loopy. He starts saying the things people usually keep inside. He tells Chandler, if you want to be gay, be gay. He tells Rachel, I love you the most. And Rachel assumes it's just the pills. And Ross gets frustrated and says, oh, you just don't get it. Funerals are not just about the person who died. They're also about what the death activates in everyone else. If you're going into a funeral or a family grief event, there's a couple of grounding questions that you can hold. What role do I automatically fall into in this family? What boundary do I need so I don't leave here wrecked? Sometimes that boundary is physical. Leave early. Sometimes it's emotional. Don't take the bait. Sometimes it's internal. I don't have to earn love today. The other storyline in this is Chandler. He's got a coworker who offers to set him up on a date. And Chandler is flattered until he realizes that the date is with a man, because she assumed that Chandler was gay. And Chandler spirals. He debates with the guys, what is it about me? And then he learns the woman in his friend group thought he was gay when they first met too. And this kind of bothers him, not because being gay is a bad thing, but because he's being misread and he feels like he's losing his identity. He's losing control of how he's seen. And he doesn't like being told, we don't know you the way you think we do. And then Chandler starts talking to one of his coworkers who is gay, and Lowell says, as a gay man, I knew you weren't gay. But he also tells Chandler that he could never get a Brian in payroll because Brian is way out of his league. And Chandler leaves trying to reclaim his confidence, only to run into Brian. And Chandler says, if I wanted a Brian, I could get a Brian. And the last thing he says is, hey, Brian. So things happen. If you've ever been misread about anything about you, whether it's your sexuality, your interests, your personality, your intentions, your own grief, here's some coaching moments. You don't have to perform harder to be understood. You can clarify once, and then you can decide, do I want to be known by these? How do I want to be known by these people? Because not everyone deserves access to the real you. So this episode ends with the friends at the coffee house looking through Nana's photos. And they find one labeled, Me and the Gang at Java Joe's. And they remark that Nana must have been around their age. And they look at the photo and say that the people look like a really fun gang. And then they look around at each other and it's quiet. And the moment is everything. Because it shows a grief truth. That death doesn't only take. It also reminds. It reminds you of what you still have. It creates a bridge between generations. It creates a continuing bond. Not moving on, but moving forward while still connected. This episode holds both kinds of grief. The grief that comes from death and the grief that comes from everything death activates. Family roles, identity confusion, and the need to find meaning. Name that grief. Death grief, anticipatory grief, whiplash grief, meaning making, signs grief, family role grief, criticism grief, identity or misread grief, continuing bonds grief, and the grief of falling into the hole and realizing life is different now. So, not all grief comes from death. Job loss, career pivots, divorce breakups, empty nests, moving, identity shifts, friendships ending, the loss of the life you thought you'd have. At The Naked Grief, we offer support communities that meet you where you are without pressure, toxic positivity, or having to explain why it hurts. What you'll find here: a private, judgment free space to process what's changed, practical tools, prompts, and guidance that you can use right away, multiple styles of support so you can choose what fits and switch if you need to, a path to find your footing one small step at a time, and an assessment that you can take as often as you'd like to figure out exactly what you may need right now. And that's free too. There's free downloads, some ebooks, and all kinds of other resources. Learn more at thenakedgrief.com. Hope to see you there. Otherwise, I'll see you next week on disenFRIENDSchised. Da 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 da.